Well, that was interesting cow talk. Let's go back to schools.
More
though.
cow talk. That was great.
We got this story from Timcast.com. Former assistant principal at Virginia Elementary School files lawsuit, says critical race theory teachings created really hostile work environment. Really? Emily Mayes, who worked at Agnor Hurt Elementary School in Charlottesville, says she was subjected to extreme harassment for weeks over her reservations about CRT. The situation escalated for Mayes. She claims when she accidentally used the word colored instead of people of color during a teaching workshop. Despite apologizing continuously, including immediately after the word was uttered, she says that for months she was harassed and berated by other staff and that the district failed to intervene. One black employee who refused to accept the apology began referring to her as that white racist bee. Wow. You know, I just got to say, this is a strategy to use. If you work somewhere with any kind of critical race theory stuff, sue them. That's what you got to do. Because if they're telling you things based on race, like white people, white privilege or whatever, they're in violation of the EEOC and the Civil Rights Act. So you got to sue them. This is the tactic. You got to use it. Check out this other story. We got this one from Fox News. Professor wins lawsuit against university over pronouns. Students' demand went against my Christian beliefs. The Ohio professor won $400,000 after suing the university over being forced to use students' preferred pronouns. There it is, my friends. You got to stand up for yourself.
It's the difference between the United States and Canada right there.
How does my favorite part about the pronouns thing is it should very rarely be coming up in-person conversation anyways, because most of the time you're not using their pronouns when you're actually talking to them in the room anyways, right? You're going to call them by their name or you're going to refer to them directly. It's more to control your speech when they're not in the room.
Isn't that weird?
Like we did a story on Pop Culture Crisis where we were talking about Demilovato, and Demilovato has like they them pronouns, and I couldn't do it. I kept screwing it up, and because like you said earlier, I want to be respectful. I try to, like, some people don't like that. Like, I'm like, look, that's what they want. I understand, but I eventually like had to give up on the point and come back to it like the next day because I couldn't get it right. I kept screwing it up. So she was controlling. I just did it right there. They were controlling my ability to speak on them without even being in the room, just by virtue of creating pronouns that are different from the normal set.
So everybody called out Demi Lovato because Demi Lovato says they are daddy's girl in caption of sizzling Instagram portraits after coming out as non-binary and using they, them pronouns. You don't get to choose your pronouns. I'm sorry. Nope. Look, I try to be nice to everybody. I want to be civil, respectful. But you can't tell me what words to use. If I want to call Brett Brat, he can be like, that's not my name. And I'll be like, too bad. Like, I'm going to say whatever I want now.
Is that short for bratwurst?
Yeah. I don't know. I was just saying it slightly differently. Delicious. Instead of Ian, I'm going to call him Ian.
Hey, you're not the first.
What's he going to do about it?
Just laugh.
So if I say, like Luke kept calling Lydia Linda when he was on the show.
Rude, first of all.
See, well, she's offended.
I am very offended.
Does that mean I have to take over calling you Lydia?
No,
Linda now.
Linda. No, but like, what's Lydia gonna say other than "Don't call me Linda"? And it's like, okay, Linda. Like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah,
it's like you can tell them.
To be fair, I think that pronouns are very much a power play because Brett's right. There is no period of time at which you would say like he when Braxton's sitting right there in front of you, or when Tim's sitting right in front of you. It's when they're not even there.
It's like, could you imagine having a conversation like that where
referring to someone in third person?
Brett makes a reference to a Demi Lovato story, and then I just look to Braxton and I'm like, did you hear what he was just saying?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, right.
It's just out of the conversation.
I think if it's pretty, rude for sure. If someone called me by the wrong name to make fun of me, I'd be like, all right, bro, take it easy. And then if they kept doing it, I'd be like, I'm not going to interact with you anymore. Or whatever I had to do, so I understand why, but then if I change my pronoun to a new kind of language or new kind of thought thing, that's a hard one to get. I don't know, maybe it's the same kind of thing that emotionally for the people that are experiencing this. So
I don't know, man.
Well, like, remember when it was on here, or was it on Rogan when they had Labonte on, and he was talking about, it's like, yeah, like, I'll call you by your pronouns, but I might just not call you very often to hang out because you're really difficult to be around. Yeah. Like, I don't mean any disrespect, but like, if I have to worry about any point in the conversation, something like this comes up, I'm just gonna check out, dude. I'm just not interested. I'm not interested in it.
Yeah, good way to put it.
I mean, how mad are you at your dad? You know, like that's like how much do you need attention?
Yeah,
I don't
really.
think it's that. Demilovato said she's daddy's girl.
Yeah.
She. You know why I'm saying she?
Why?
Because she said she's daddy's girl.
Yeah.
And now look, if she comes out and says that she's non-binary, I'm like, okay, whatever. If she comes out and says she's daddy's girl, I'm like, oh, she's a girl again.
She's a girl,
So now
yeah.
she's a she, right? You can't so she changed it back.
So pronoun fluid.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, she can just be pronoun
I don't.
fluid.
You know what I think it is. The reason why they're going after kids is because little kids are like trying to find their identity, right? But the identity is usually something like, do I want to be a fireman or do I want to be a carpenter? Do I want to be a doctor or a nurse or something? Now they're going to kids and be like, I remember when I was little and they're like, what's your favorite color? And I was always like, I don't know. Like, how do you know what your favorite color is? What does that even mean? And then I would just tell people green because the calendar for March, my birthday was always green. It's like green, I guess, because like that's the only thing I can kind of think of. I don't know. I kind of like blue or whatever. So you just pick it. Now you're a little kid and they're like, which pronouns are you? And they're like, Florbo? I don't know. Whatever.
Is it New York that recognizes 33 separate genders?
31.
31 separate genders. It's insane.
But they legally recognize any and all genders, which means you can make one up on the spot.
So what is the point of the 31 if they legally recognize all?
Of the 31, they even are redundant. Like female to male is considered a gender in New York, but FTM is also considered a gender, even though it means the same thing.
This stuff is so difficult to talk about because I am such a generally respectful and do not want to offend or hurt anyone's feelings. And I know a lot of people, like working here, you kind of like, a lot of people see that as like a flaw, right? That you're too weak to stand up for something. But it's like, I don't want to offend or upset anybody. But some of this stuff is so impossible to process in the moment that if I can't even have a reasonable conversation with you, I don't know how to do this without being offensive. And I don't want that. So it's like I'm being forced to be offensive, but only to them. Like I'm trying not to be, but they're making it about that. And that's very, very difficult for me to process as somebody who just doesn't want to be on the wrong side of people just for general reasons.
Yeah, talking about someone, then you're taking some risk. When you're talking to someone, pronouns are out of the question. You don't even use pronouns. You're having a conversation with somebody. Yeah. And anyone can get down with that. Doesn't matter how they identify. When you start talking about people, then they're like, whoa, if you're going to bring me into this, bring me into it the way I want to be brought into it. And that's like, not in the United States. I'm bringing you in because you're part of this. And I think we can have that discussion.
It's purposefully destabilizing.
Yeah.
It's impossible for a regular person to know what's happening or who you're talking about. So the example I gave, like on Twitter, was I can't remember exactly how I wrote it, but I said Pat and Sam go to see a movie. They got angry because they wanted to see a horror film, but they ended up seeing a comedy instead. And what they really wanted was, and then it's just like, what does the they refer to? Like which person did what? If you said like Mike and Jane went to a movie, she got angry because she wanted to see a comedy film, but he wanted to see horror, and they ended up seeing horror. Now you understand. The girlfriend is mad. She wants to see comedy. The boyfriend wanted to see horror. They were both mad because they didn't end up seeing anything. But if you said Sam and Pat went to the movies, they were mad because they wanted to see a comedy, but they saw horror. It's like, are you like they were both mad? Which person is referred to in the they? Now, to be fair, in the context of, Sarah and Jane go to the movie and she was mad, you're also like, I don't know which person you're referring to, because if it's two different genders, there you go. In which case, you don't need the pronouns at all. Sarah and Jane go to the movie. Sarah got mad because she wanted to see a movie, a comedy, but Jane wanted to see horror, and they ended up saying, so you just use the name. In which case, this whole discussion is like, almost makes no sense.
I think you're right, though, that it's about being purposely destabilizing. As much as it pains me to give him credit, Jesse Kelly calls these guys communists all the time, and I think he's right, at least in orientation, and also because it makes him mad to be called communist, so I think it's good to use. But the whole, basically, in a sense, the Lenin model is destabilize, create confusion and chaos, and then come in and be the person that restores order in the way that you want it. And that seems to be the approach that they
How do
take.
they restore order? Who are they looking for?
Shooting people in the streets, but it was one way.
But I'm saying, who are they looking for that's going to make sense of this?
Well, at this stage, I don't think it matters because it's chaos stage.
Because he's like a lot of these people who shilled for Biden, who just like he doesn't understand the stuff. He doesn't like. I would argue that he doesn't really understand any of the stuff that's going on with that part of the movement. But it's like you said earlier, you think it's about destabilizing, and we talked about religion, and you said I think like why does it feel like people are coming more around to religion again, it's because they're looking for something solid under their feet. And I'm not religious, but I'm one of those people that's like everything feels so up in the air now that you're just looking for something, anything to hold on to that feels like some semblance of the real world and not this postmodern hell that feels like we're in right now.
I mentioned that earlier, that in a time when you start to lose faith in reality, you start to look for faith in other places. And I see people reverting to religion of the past or to what non-binary degenderism or whatever the heck. I looked up, there's a meme going around that says they translated non-binary into Spanish. And there's two ways to translate it. One is the feminine version and one is the masculine version. No binaria and no binario.
Perfect.
Wow. Thanks for checking out this segment from the Timcast IRL podcast. But if you want to check out the full show live, tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m. And if you want more special access content, head over to timcast.com and become a member. Your membership helps sustain this company, keep our journalists employed, makes this show happen, and you will get access to exclusive members-only segments of the Timcast IRL podcast, and there's a massive library to check out. So again, go to timcast.com or tune in Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., and we'll see you all there.